Okay, did you have another one?
So one was Derek's that this was more his, I'll just put it out there so people can think about it. His was purchase a site for Los Altos School District. And then it's an option one variant, he called it, and then have BCS take over an existing elementary school site. So you'd have to redraw boundaries, but wherever you built the new site, it was just, I think what he was getting at more than anything else was we went through a formal process of build the new site for BCS. What about a formal evaluation of build a new site dedicated to the Los Altos School District? I think this is maybe a little bit more of a process-oriented one, but I think he's got a fair point on that.
I saw one over here that was like that. Maybe I was wrong.
New site for
New
Northern
site and
Belfast.
shared site at Covington.
Yeah, this is not a shared thing.
Yeah,
doesn't have
that's-
any shared.
so it's
There's
a
no
little different.
shared
Okay.
aspect to it.
Okay.
This is give the brand new one to Los Altos and give BCS
An old one.
an
Yeah.
existing site.
Correct. So I guess it's more of a distinction on things. And then the last one here, this one is more of a brainstorming one, was a year-round school concept. Lots of things to work out here, but the idea just being, does year-round school create space to alleviate enrollment growth? You know, if you staggered the amount of kids going through, theoretically, I think that creates space. Though I have no personal experience with year-round school, and maybe that's not true, or people would not be accepting of year-round school, so your enrollment, you get a lot of pushback. I don't know how that would go, but so this was a bit more of a brainstorming one, keeping a number of sites. You probably on this have to give BCS one of the existing sites, and then you don't necessarily have to redraw the boundaries, but you change everybody's schedule. As a brainstorming type shoot the moon thing, I think it was interesting to look at. Yeah, that would, you'd earn your money. That one.
So the assumption of year-round schools is based on limited space and trying to fit all the kids
Yeah.
in that space.
That's one of them, right?
Yeah, one of the
The
assumptions.
programmatic purpose for year-round school.
Yeah, that's true.
So one of the benefits here on this question of what's the academic and emotional thing, the benefit may be kids retain their knowledge better than they do now. Right now, I have this summer and you constantly hear they've lost everything. So year-round school may have a positive academic, social element to it. That
They
makes
hold
up
on
for
to a
the.
little.
There's some they do what we, yeah, we're pretty-
Only the good stuff, I'm sure.
And this is just K through 6 then year round, right? So if you,
That's a good question. I don't know. I would think the whole district, K through 8,
You
would
would have-
think. Because then you'd have sibling problems, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, and you have sibling
Right.
problems with the high
that's my
school
question.
district.
If you had a kid at Block and a kid at Springer and they were on different cycles,
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts,
feasibly, you
there's
go
no
into
doubt.
school all year long.
Forget your high schooler.
Oh, yeah,
Your high
yeah,
school is
yeah.
on their own.
Yeah,
They have a little cottage in your backyard.
okay.
Okay, any other questions about year-round school?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's right, that's
I'll just
popular in
figure
high
it
schools.
so how many at this table? Just
We just have
one?
one.
Okay.
So this is the, put all 6 through 8 on one campus for the whole district. So there's no new site purchased. And currently, we have about 1,600 6th through 8th graders. So if you built a single campus with 4 specialty middle schools on it that could accommodate up to 500 students a school, you'd have about space for about 2,000, 6 through 8 eventually. If you think about the possible campuses, it would be theoretically Covington, right? So if you took Covington and you took the district office space and potentially church space coming available, and built it out with 4 specialty middle schools on it, they could be performing arts, they could be environmental, it could be STEM. We came up with about 10 different ideas for the actual school themes. You would have new common facilities, state-of-the-art performing arts center for access for all of those students, athletic fields. And then you would give BCS one of the existing junior highs, and then the other junior high would be, you would move Covington there, the community intact. You could also consider using one of the junior highs for the mega middle, BCS to another junior high, keep Covington where it is. So there are potential disruptions, obviously, but not necessarily redrawing lines per se. We talked about, in terms of kind of the socioeconomic mix, putting all of those students at 6 through 8 at one campus allows you to potentially have more diversity for more students. Social emotional, really this being driven by that notion around those middle schoolers tapping into their passion and getting to really dig into something. We even talked about how you could have common periods like PE where all 4 schools, you drew from all 4 schools, and then kids had choice within that. Did they want to do team sports PE? Did they want to do dance PE? Did they want to do, individual sports PE? So really leveraging student passion and student choice in terms of that. Travel time, traffic, access, all are going to be issues that would have to be dealt with in this option. You could deal with it through things like staggered start times, multiple access points. A campus like Covington, you could have potential different ways to get in. Egan, same thing, but you could stagger start time. We talked about one of the schools maybe being a service learning focused school, and maybe those kids are in the community for part of the day, and so they're coming at different times. What else did we talk about?
So Katie, question?
Yeah.
I missed the beginning part of it, so hopefully I'm not repeating something you said. I think previously you talked about bringing other districts into this. Was that part of this model?
That was actually a different idea, but we could.
Okay. So this is just LASD?
This is just LASD. That was an earlier idea I had where I said, well, why don't we create a magnet school? Palo Alto, Mountain View, Los Altos magnet school,
Yeah.
which could be K-8 or something.
So one of the perks that we talked about, even though you're having roughly 1,600 to 2,000 students on one campus, when you're having the 4 different sites, there are 500 or less, which is actually lower than what Egan and Block are now. So we'd actually be even reducing down the size.
And I think we talked about really leveraging some of those specialty things that not all kids maybe have access to, but you wouldn't have to necessarily have the conversation, for instance, do we have enough 8th graders to offer geometry in 8th grade when you're pulling from the entire district population. Same thing for things like special ed and having those programs at one location and kids having access to them. And certainly the flexibility around kids maybe, starting out in performing arts and deciding that's not really a fit. I mean, you'd have to have a lot of things in place to address that. Other questions?
So what did you say about Covington?
Well, if you use Covington for the mega middle, then it's gotta go to Block or Egan, depending on where BCS goes, so.
I'm good the way I have it. Okay.
Yep.
So when, like, this 2,000, there are districts that have this type of thing, right? Or is that really only a high school sort of? Certainly there are high schools with 2,000 kids, no problem. But there are, I'm under the impression there are districts with 2,000 middle school students.
Yes.
It'd be hard-
In the US,
I
absolutely.
think it'd be hard pressed to find them around.
Not around
Oh, yeah,
here.
no, I don't think necessarily right in the
But so
peninsula
what is
area.
what's the academic and social, what do they report out of that type of school? Is that a negative?
Depends where it is.
Yeah, okay.
I think it depends on the kid.
And
Right,
there's certainly
really
a difference
depends on
between a 2,000 student middle
Yeah, this is
school
4 different
versus
ones.
4
Or
or 500.
500.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the general idea is the 4 element would tamp down any worries of there's associated behavior problems or kids getting lost, that type of thing.
Actually, the research on the school size thing is, it's pretty clear that smaller schools are associated with better student achievement, and the 4 different small schools on a single site are less clearly, that is not usually showing that kind of effect, but a K-8 school where the kids are at a variety of ages, or even a K-12, for those kinds of districts, those are associated, those seem to be more effectively small schools in terms of of those statistics. But, whatever statistics mean, Los Altos would have the means to make something for here that,
Okay, so I have 2
What if
others.
we didn't make the conversion, like what if it was only a 7-8? How many students would be at that site then?
1,200.
1,500 to maybe grow to 1,600. But if we didn't do the middle school conversion, then it wasn't gonna address the K-5 growth. By pulling the sixth graders off, it allowed for the growth at each of the 7 individual sites. So the conversion was pretty much mandatory.
Well, and I think it
Necessary.
also programmatically allowed you to really explore that student choice and student passion and have a lot of those options being offered.
Does this end up with an extra unused middle school site then?
Nope.
One
One,
goes to
one middle
BCS.
school here, another one here.
Uh-huh.
You could also say that one could be Covington and one could be the other, but then, like, that's what I was asking Katie.
But there's Covington, Egan, and Block.
Right.
So there's a mega, the 4 people.
So there's now Covington, Egan combined, or,
Yeah.
Egan and Block combined, Covington and BCS.
Yeah.
So BCS would go to E,
on 3
Covington
sites.
moves to one
and
of
Covington
these.
would go to
Oh,
Block, because it's
okay, thanks, sorry.
closest.
So you could
Got it.
mix and match
Got it.
between
Yes,
those
the
three.
Egan.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was reading Mike Carlton had put a new K-5 at Egan and shared Covington with current K-5 and BCS, which I believe was one of these. I can't remember, but I'll put it over here where it belongs. Which one?
That one.
This one here? Yeah, that's what I thought. So, how's that?
Has a new site?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it doesn't.
I think it's the one.
A new K-5.
I think it's the one over there, or it's
This one
close to.
over here? Oh.
Elementary to Egan, BCS to vacated. Covington, share Covington with current K-5. I could have swore it was one of these. Maybe it's this one. Anyway, and then the other one is the Foothill. So this said partner with Foothill for lab support, joint use of Foothill facilities. I was going to suggest that maybe we put this with the engage the cities and just to add Foothill to that. To me, that's almost what do you say? Well, it's like a floater out there, because you could almost use that strategy into just about any of these to kind of make things work and give them more flexibility. So I'm going to throw it here and add Foothill to the description, and then I will find this one.
So what we want to do now is you should have gotten 5 docs. And you're going to have some time to walk around and think about the options that were presented. And your dots are your votes. And we're gonna see, are there any of these options that kind of, a couple of them that rise to the top? Because what we wanna be able to do at the next meeting is really take some of these options through our full option analysis as a group. And so we need to kind of figure out which options we need to go forward with.
So I'd like to verify which ones have a middle school conversion and which ones don't. So could we star the ones that have a middle school conversion? So,
Sure. So,
So the,
Okay.
ours could or could not. It could go
Okay.
either way.
okay,
It's not,
okay.
And so could ours.
Okay.
I think that's the issue, it's like, for in a lot of cases, if they wanted to like relieve or create more capacity district-wide at the elementaries, then they could
Okay.
do this 60.
Okay.
There
So
were
that's-
a few that were mandated it, but not many.
Okay,
It's-
okay.
Yeah.
I think it says, one of the boxes is, does it involve a middle school conversion?
Yeah.
Yes, it
So you
does.
should look there too.
So this is a yes.
Yeah, and you have it, yeah.
All right in here.
it should be answered down on the bottom part.
There's a box
This
on
one's
this one.
Yeah.
It says could but not required. So
Possible.
Yeah,
Okay, so I'll do that as we're
coming around.
getting ready.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
Still-